Hello and welcome to Lily's Library. So today we're going to be talking about the books that I would immediately pick up and read if I were to ever lose my memory and forget the entire plot of these books. So these are some of my favorite books, or books that just fundamentally changed me in some way, and I would just give anything to read for the first time again. Starting with one of my all-time favorite trilogies, this was an absolutely insane read and something I think about all the time still. It's a trilogy that took me quite a while to finish because I was terrified of what would happen and didn't want it to be over. And that is the 5th season and the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. This is an incredible sci-fi trilogy. It's just so devastating and amazing. All 3 of these books have won Hugo Awards. They're all incredibly well written and crafted. They've got an incredible, the character arc in this is just so well done, and these books are just devastating. You will cry reading every single one, and just the way that everything weaves together in the end of this, I would just give anything to reread this trilogy for the first time. It's definitely something that I want to reread because I think I'll find a lot more answers in it on my second read of them, but just for a first read as well, they're confusing and just so well done and makes you really think about what's going on, and I absolutely love that in books, and this just forever changed me and my expectations and opinions on books as well. But if you haven't heard about this trilogy before, the Broken Earth trilogy is set in a world where every few centuries there is a 5th season. This is where the world ends. Some people survive, some people don't. And we're kind of living through this 5th season now. We follow 3 different women at 3 different stages of this season and their journeys getting through here. And it's just so interesting the way that these paths connect and everything connects and comes together in these books. But the characters we follow, they are all origins, which are people that can kind of control the earth to a degree. So if an earthquake happens, they can either calm the tremors or make it worse. They can make volcanoes erupt and all that kind of thing. So they are very much kind of frowned upon in this world, and a lot of people don't like them. They don't want them living in their towns because they are worried that they would start a 5th season and kill everyone. And there is this place called the Fulcrum, which is basically a government organization where they are sent as children and trained to be used and manipulated for their powers. And it is really quite devastating, some of the stuff that happens there, especially to the more powerful kids that can't control themselves. It's just such a heartbreaking read, but one of the best trilogies I have ever read because it is just so incredibly well done. If I was to forget everything, this is one of the first books I would pick up because it's just insane. Reading this book for the first time again would just be oh, amazing. If you haven't read it, just please pick it up. If you get confused, just stick with it because it does make sense in the end. Kind of in the similar realm of confusing books, we have got Gideon the Ninth, and this goes for the entire Locked Tomb series, all 3 books that are currently out. But this is absolutely insane as well, confusing in its own way, but that's just because of the narrators that we follow. They're all such different people and have such different takeaways from everything that is happening in these books, so you really get a different experience reading through each one. But these are just such incredible sci-fis. They are so devastating as well and so beautifully written and have the best humor, in my opinion, in them. They're just absolutely amazing. But if you haven't heard of these ones either, The Locked Tomb, which starts with Gideon the Ninth, these are sci-fi books about necromancers in space. It's very chaotic and just very insanely well done. Tamsin Muir's mind is absolutely insane. I don't know how anyone could think of this and make it make sense still, but in book 1 we follow Gideon, who is of the 9th house. She is one of 2 younger women there. Everyone else is really old, and we find out a bit throughout the book why that is the way it is, but she has been trying to escape and become free because she doesn't want to be stuck there. She wants to go out and make her own path. And one day when she is escaping, Harrow, the necromancer of the 9th house, kind of foils her escape plan and makes her go with her instead to compete in this kind of challenge to become lictors. They get sent to this other planet that's kind of this decrepit mansion house on there with all the other people from the 8 other houses, and we've got a cavalier and a necromancer from each house, and we kind of see that they slowly start getting picked off and killed one by one, and everyone's trying to piece together who or what is killing them while also trying to fight to become a lictor and what that actually means in this sense. This is just so honestly devastating and witty and fun, and Gideon is such a fun narrator in this. I really loved being inside her head. Harrow is so interesting as well, and Harrow and Nona is her own separate entity that is just so obscure. The character work in these books just everything about them, like, even though they are confusing as fuck, and I probably would benefit from not losing my memory of this and being able to reread it again and still remember everything, it's something I would pick up if I was to ever lose my memory, because I don't think I could live without reading these books. Okay, next I've got some more typical fantasy books. One is a more recent, I mean, a lot of these are pretty recent, but Darkwater Daughter is the next one on this list. I would say this goes for the entire trilogy, but specifically book one. This is by H.M. Long. This was just so transportative when I read it. Like, it was so compelling and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was dreaming about this book. I was just so completely immersed and drenched in this world, and I could not escape it. And I would just give anything to read it for the first time again, to feel all of the vibes and be with the characters, and just to explore this from a new beginning and with no prior knowledge to anything. It would just be so perfect. But Darkwater Daughter, which is book one of the Winter Sea trilogy, this is set in a kind of wintry world for the most part. We follow them in winter. We kind of go throughout the seasons as well, but it is set on the Winter Sea. In this world, we have got ships that are kind of powered by gistings, which are these beings that are made out of this special wood, and they can kind of talk to other people, and they have like this creature that can go throughout the ship and protect people and protect the ship, which is a very interesting concept. We have also got different kinds of people with different abilities, like we've got soothsayers, and we have also got, there's another people, I don't remember what they're called, but they can like control people's mind and make them do what they want to do and kind of like compel them. And then we have also got storm singers. These are typically women that can sing and control the storms through doing that. So they can make the waves more calm, they help navigate the winter sea, or they can also make storms 10 times worse and make it so that their enemies cannot navigate through that area and can protect themselves. And Mary, our main character, is a storm singer, and we follow her as she's kind of just been arrested and is trying to break out of prison with this pirate, and all of the chaos that ensues from there. And just the way everything unfolds in this book is just so well done. The characters and their relationships are so well crafted and interesting. It also deals with a lot of darker topics in this, like slavery and the incarceration of women in this world and how they're treated, and it's just so dark and interesting and beautiful, and I absolutely adored this book. It was just incredible. The rest of the trilogy did kind of fall off a bit, but if I could just read this book for the first time again, I would, and I would just stop there, to be honest, but it's just so good. The next one is one I only read for the first time at the beginning of this year, and I am forever upset that I only read it for the first time this year, and that is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This goes for the entire Farseer trilogy. I only just finished this trilogy a few months ago now, but holy hell, this is just incredible. Robin Hobb really does not pull any punches with the stuff she puts her characters through. She does such a good job with just creating them and the journeys that they go on. Her villains are always so well fleshed out, and while you don't really agree with their motivations, you can see why they do what they do and why they are who they are, which I just absolutely love. They're just all so real and well crafted, and I would just give anything to experience these books again for the first time. Like, I think about them all the time and they're just absolutely breathtaking. But in the Farseer trilogy, we follow our main character Fitz, who is the bastard son of one of the princes of the Six Duchies, and he's kind of given over by his birth family because they don't want to raise him anymore, and he's given into the crown, and he kind of is thrust into this life where he doesn't really fit in and is frowned upon because he isn't the rightful heir to the throne, especially since he is the child of the firstborn prince, so he could surpass others if his father was to claim him. And throughout this, we follow him as he is trained to become an assassin to be used for the crown, as well as being trained to use this special skill that people of the Farseer line have, which is literally just called the skill. It means that they can kind of talk telepathically and they can do certain things with it. But we also discover that Fitz is maybe harboring an ability for a different kind of more dark magic, or magic that is very much frowned upon, and that is the wit. It's something that ties him really closely to animals, and we kind of explore him navigating this, kind of trying to find his own path through all of this when he's always been told what to do and who to be and how to help, and he doesn't know how to actually act in any of it. And it's just so heartbreaking what happens to him, but it is one of the best fantasy trilogies I have ever read. The next two books are ones I did also read at the beginning of this year, but I could not live without reading them again if I was to forget my memories, and they're both by the same author. The first one I will be talking about is The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wang. I really enjoyed this. It was just short of 5 stars for me because of stuff that happened in the end, but This is absolutely devastating. I had full body sobs while I was reading this. It is just soul crushing in the best way possible. And I would just give anything to be able to read it again for the first time and to feel all these feelings and the anger and the devastation and the heartbreak. It is just so well crafted. But in this, we follow two different characters. We follow Mamoru, who is the son of this really powerful family, like a samurai family. His father is from one of the most powerful families in this area, and then his mother is also from an equally powerful family but in her own way. And we follow him as he kind of goes through school and is learning to be a fighter and to be a samurai, and he really wants to be as good as his dad but is struggling to get there. We also follow him as he kind of deals with the fallout of this impending war that is happening and starts questioning the government's decisions and the information that the government is sharing and the propaganda they are putting out. And we kind of follow him as he awakens to the lies that are being told to him, and he has to deal with whether he still fights for his country in this war that is coming or whether he tries to find his own way to make it work for him. And it is just really devastating and so interesting seeing a young man go through this and the way that he kind of like opens his eyes to what happens and is changing and not being like what his father wants to be and how it works for him. Our other character we follow, Misaki, is his mother, who, like I said, is from an equally powerful family, but her family is rumored to be able to control blood, which is seen as a very bad thing. They say that the family can puppeteer people with their blood, but we don't actually know if that's true. We follow Misaki at different stages in her life. We follow her as she's watching her son question everything that is happening and trying not to sway his opinion because she knows that government lies and that what they are being told is not the truth. But we also follow her when she was younger and when she was going to school in the West and kind of where she learnt about the actual truth of this world and the things that are happening and why her government is so corrupt and lying. And we follow her as she tries to help her son without changing his opinions and making him join her in its own way and wants him to kind of see it for herself. And then we follow her as she tries to fight to be who she wants to be and to show her husband and her family that she is actually strong and capable. And it is just absolutely devastating. It has got some of the best fight scenes I've ever read in a book. It really makes you feel like you were there. It is just absolutely incredible. Now, the next one is Blood Over Brighthaven. This is one I've actually recently changed my rating on. I think it is more a 5-star read now, the more that I think back on it. But this is something that was just equally devastating in its own way and just absolutely insane to read, and I would love to read it for the first time having no prior thoughts or knowledge on it, because I think some reviews that I did see on this kind of changed my opinion and swayed it before I even got to the book, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but this is just absolutely incredible in its own way. In this we follow Shiona, who is the first woman high mage to join into this really prestigious area. Women are only allowed to sit this test every few years, or they can do it, but it's really hard for them to join just because of the way this world is set up and not rigged for them, and it's rigged against them. And we follow her as she does kind of pass these exams, becomes the very first female high mage, and the treatment that she gets there, how her male colleagues just completely shun her, they mess up her projects, they try and just fuck her over basically. So we follow her as she's kind of trying to fight to be seen for herself and to be seen as worthy to be there and show that she does deserve this spot. And then we also follow Tommy, who is this character. He is not actually from this city, he is from outside of it. He is one of the indigenous people to the land around the city, and we follow him as he does finally break through and loses his entire family and clan as he is trying to get to this city. And then we follow him and his mistreatment there, because the Quen people, which is his people, they are very much just treated as lower class citizens. They seem to be mooching off the land there and to just be taking resources without doing any work. And we really look at how that actually impacts him and the world that is set up against them, and the really unlikely and unexpected bond and relationship that he forms with Siona, and how they kind of have to fight together to both be seen as equals to everyone else. But one of the things that I really struggled with in this book was Siona's view of the Quen and Tommy, and how he is better than the other ones because he can speak and read. And even though in this world there is prejudice against her and women, how she still holds that same grudge and prejudice against the Quen and these other people when they should really be working together. So that was something I really struggled with, just because she is very blatant and blunt in her racism and dislike of them, and just could not see that they are also being oppressed by the same oppressor. And it was just a lot to unpack that, but it does change and it does happen, and it is absolutely just devastating. The more I think back on this book and the things that happen and the comparisons to things in the world at the moment, like it's a domed city, it's very much reminiscent of Israel and any other powerful country that is trying to wipe out the native people that have lived there for centuries and think they're owed the land and is stealing what is actually not theirs. Like it's so on the nose that it's almost, it's so well done. I feel like I just can't talk about this. If I was to forget everything, I would immediately dive into this book because I would love to not have those prior reviews and thoughts with this one, but I would just love to dive into it again. It's just a book that really makes you think, and you love but hate these characters at the same time, and it really makes you think about why you do like them and what makes a good character and what makes a bad character, and it's just so well done. This next one is on the list for a slightly different reason than the others. Like, yes, I absolutely love this book and would immediately pick it up if I was to lose my memories, but I also got spoiled for something that happened in it. So I would literally give anything to read it without the spoilers and knowing what was coming, because I think it would be so much more impactful. And that is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is absolutely insane. This is dark academia again, quite similar to Blood over Brighthaven in some ways, because it does deal with the mistreatment and oppression of different people, but we follow it from a different side of this. This is also about revolution and working together and fighting for change, and it is absolutely devastating. We follow a cast of 4 different characters who are going to Oxford and are going to the Tower of Babel, and they are kind of brought over there to work as translators. And in this world we have like silver that can be powered by different language. They'll have things that are written on it in different languages, and if you speak it, it can kind of make it have these abilities and powers. And all of these kids come from different parts of the world, and we kind of follow them as they are manipulated and brought into it and are there really just to empower the wealthy even more, and their fight to kind of be free and to be able to do what they want for themselves. And the dynamic between them all is just so beautiful and devastating. The twists and turns that happen in this is just absolutely insane. There was one thing that I got spoiled for, like I said, and I would give anything to read it again without knowing it was coming, because I think it would just be so much more impactful. If you are looking to read this and haven't picked it up yet, I would highly recommend it because it is absolutely insane. R.F. Kuang is such an amazing writer, and she's just really not hiding what this is really about. Like, I don't want to say too much because it is something that you should read for yourself and see the messages that are in it, and she just does everything so well. This will probably radicalize you as well, because you will realize how fucked up this whole world is and how it is only built for the powerful, and just the revolution and fight that happens in this is just so well done. This is something I really want to reread soon as well, because it is absolutely incredible and just such a devastating and beautiful read. The next one is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is something that had me sobbing. I kind of did, now that I'm looking back on it, it was kind of very obvious where this would go and what the twists would be, but this is just absolutely so beautiful. It does have its issues, in my opinion. This is very Eurocentric. That is a quite common critique I have of a few of V.E. Schwab's books, especially with this one, how we've got immortal people, or an immortal woman who doesn't die, and she only really ever explores Europe and America. It's kind of outrageous, in my opinion, to think that she didn't travel on boats anywhere else during these time periods, but this is just absolutely beautiful and devastating in the best way possible, and it made me feel so seen in a few ways as well, and it's just gorgeous. So The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue follows our main character, Addie LaRue, who is going into this arranged marriage, and she really does not want to get married. She just wants to live her own life. So she runs off into the woods before her wedding and calls upon the power of the old gods to save her and to let her be her own person. And they answer, but there is one condition: that everyone will forget that her as soon as they leave the room or they turn her backs on her. So she will never be remembered. And one day she is going about her life, and then suddenly a guy remembers her. She steals a book from a bookshop, which is something she's done before because no one remembers her. And she comes back and he remembers. And we follow them and their relationship as they explore everything together, as she's trying to find out why he remembers who she is and that they can get along. And it's just so beautiful and devastating, and I absolutely adored this. It's a really tender book and just something I would love to read for the first time again, because it just made me feel so many ways, and it's just amazing. Okay, the last 2 books I have, the first of them is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. You can see how much this is tabbed. I absolutely loved this. I listened to these for for the first time on audiobook, and then I did a reread of this one. I still need to reread the others, but I was adding like all different things to them, which I thought would be fun, but these are just absolutely beautiful. In this, we follow Blue, who has always been told that she will kill her first love with her first kiss. And we kind of follow her as she navigates that. She comes from a family who are all kind of like, I don't think witches are the word, but they are all very like powerful in that kind of way. They can see the future. They do all that kind of witchy stuff, which I absolutely love. And we follow her. She is kind of like used as an amplifier in this. She doesn't actually have these abilities, but she's always been told that she is powerful in her own way and makes other people powerful through that. In this book, we start off with Blue and her mother doing a grave watch. This is a thing they do every full moon, I believe, where they sit in the graveyard and take note of all the people that will die in the coming year. And Blue sees this guy that looks familiar and ends up talking to her, which is something that doesn't usually happen. She doesn't usually see ghosts. And eventually she ends up meeting this boy, and he is part of the Raven Boys. These are guys that go to this very prestigious school, a school that she was always warned against, and her mother always told her to not talk to these guys because they were dangerous. And she ends up getting thrust into their mystery that they are chasing, which is of a buried Welsh king that is hidden somewhere in this world. And it is just such a good found family vibe. I absolutely love the dynamic that is between Blue and these guys and everything that happens between them. There are so many devastating and sad moments. The romances in this are beautiful. There's just so much that I would give everything to be able to read for the first time again, because these books are absolutely breathtaking. The more I talk about them, the more I realize that I do really need to reread them, so I might have to reread this and then go through and annotate all the others as well. But like I said, it's got a lot to do with Welsh mythology and magic and stuff, so I've got a tarot card here for one of the cards that they actually pulled out. What else have we got? We've got Chainsaw, the little crow, which is one of my favorites. A really bad drawing of a sword. We've got ley lines because they play a huge role in this. There's just like so much stuff that happens in this, and it's just beautiful. Like you can see, we've got a map of a ley line and everything that has to do with the buried Welsh king that they are chasing, and just everything that happens in this is absolutely insane. And I would just read it for the first time again on a heartbeat because it is amazing. Okay, the last book is kind of the more random out of all of these, and that is Haiku. I absolutely love this. This is one of my favorite anime and manga series of all time. It has had such a big impact on my life in its own way. It's just such a comfort series of mine now. It is so tense at times, and it's just so fun and sweet and tender, and you really can't help but root for every single team, even the villains in these, because there is kind of only one team that's a true villain, and I just absolutely love this series. I have a tattoo of one of the characters, and if I was to forget everything, I don't think I could go on living without having read these again, because they were just such a big part of my teenage years, reading and watching this for the first time, and they always have had such a special part in my heart that I would just not be able to go on without them, and it's just incredible. This is a sports manga series about a volleyball team, and our main character, Hinata, is trying to become the little giant, who is a really good player that he saw when he was a child playing for Karasuno, and he's been chasing this dream to join Karasuno and go to that high school his whole life. And when he finally gets there, he kind of realizes the team is losers, they're no ones, they suck, and he wants to change that, but he's really not that good at volleyball, and it's just so sweet and sad, and the relationships that form with Hinata and these other characters and all of their dynamics, it is just absolutely incredible. It is one of my favorite series, and like I said, if I was to lose my memory, I don't think I could exist without having read these again. But those are all of the books I wanted to talk about. Let me know what book you would immediately pick up if you were to lose your memories and to read it for the first time again, because I feel like there are so many books that are really just become part of you and your DNA that you could not exist without having read, and these are really some of mine. But I will see you guys all with a new video next time. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Goodbye.